The 2024 Formula One World Championship, even for Scuderia Ferrari, has entered the final third of the season. The remaining 8 Grands Prix will be crucial not only for the teams competing for the 2024 drivers and constructors titles. Never before has the development of the cars in this championship represented an investment for the next campaign. 2025 will be the last Formula One championship under the current regulations, before yet another technical revolution that, as we know, will be characterized by extensive use of active aerodynamics and second-generation turbo-hybrid engines. As suggested by the team principals of various Formula One teams, starting next January, almost all teams will allocate a significant number of engineers that will focus on the 2026 project. When asked about the subject, insiders confirm that next season's technical projects will be nothing more than normal evolutions of the current cars. The reason is quite simple and at the same time intuitive. Teams do not intend to revolutionize their designs for the 2025 Formula One cars by risking a real leap into the unknown. Therefore, it is reasonable to expect that the teams will develop their cars until the end of the current season, just to have a solid and reliable platform as a starting point for the next technical project. For Ferrari, the resignation of Italian aerodynamicist Enrico Cardile, former technical director of the Prancing Horse, could represent a critical issue in the design process of the Ferrari 677. It is worth noting that, in fact, under regulatory continuity, the design of the 2025 car began almost simultaneously with the development of the SF24. In principle, the process of creating a new Formula One car begins with the design phase. Everything starts with the senior designers defining the basic principles around which the new F1 car will be created. To give a clear example, we refer to the type of suspension schemes intended for use or the wheelbase of the car. Once the basic concepts are fully consolidated, the development path splits into various avenues. These avenues, of course, must be able to interact with each other as much as possible. The departments work on suspension, hydraulics, transmission, composite materials, and electronics. Each of these divisions has a group dedicated to the virtual and physical testing of individual components. These tests are progressively refined until they are finally approved and released to move on to the next phases. It should be clarified that the role Enrico Cardile held at Ferrari was not operational, but served as a link between the various divisions of the Ferrari racing department. At this point, a spontaneous question arises. At what stage of the 677 project did the immediate resignation of the Italian technical director occur? During Frédéric Vasseur's interim period, who assumed the role of acting technical director, did the work teams operate without problems, or did the departure of the Italian aerodynamicist and technician slow down the definition of the next car? In our opinion, Enrico Cardile's resignation really took the Ferrari management by surprise. The Italian engineer had been appointed technical director of the historic Maranello team at the beginning of the 2024 Formula One season, and nothing suggested his technical departure from Ferrari before the expected time. Therefore, it is necessary to retrace the events to understand how their sequence influenced the resignation of the Italian technician. In the spring, it seemed that the hiring of Adrian Newey at Ferrari was a done deal, with a pre-contract in place. This was the information from the major international media outlets following Formula One. In hindsight, the resignation of the Maranello team's technical director was not due to the arrival of the brilliant British car designer, as the two technicians will soon be colleagues at Aston Martin. The arrival of Loic Serra was the real cause of Enrico Cardile's discomfort, who realized he had only taken on the role of technical director on an interim basis, waiting for the French engineer's gardening leave to expire. The immediate resignation of the Italian engineer made it impossible for any handover between Enrico Cardile and the former Mercedes manager. In theory, as a manager, Enrico Cardile should have given at least 2 months' notice. This does not mean that the development of the 677 project has stopped, but under Mattia Binotto's mandate, Ferrari has already paid the price for the departure of a technical director who did not leave instructions regarding the project he was overseeing, a dynamic that had painful consequences in the past season. The hope is that the experienced French manager will be able to take over from Enrico Cardile, managing to compensate with his experience for a handover that never actually happened. Looking back at the recent events, we can say that it was not a good day for Ferrari. The most successful F1 team of all time was forced to swallow the official confirmation of a fact that was already widely known. Everything had been foreseen for some time, in fact. But when the fact becomes reality, emotions can sometimes overpower reason. The presentation of Adrian Newey as the new designer for Aston Martin is a blow to the heart for those who dreamed of seeing him wear the prancing horse's uniform. It's a feeling that goes beyond the results the brilliant designer will achieve with Lawrence Stroll's team. We're talking about a figure who, through his ideas, insights, and innovations, has played a decisive role in the success of every F1 team he's worked with. After so many words and speculations, in the end, the allure of Ferrari and the chance to collaborate with Lewis Hamilton did not prove to be sufficient motivation to convince Adrian. Was the choice motivated by financial reasons? An unlikely hypothesis, given that the Italian team is not short on financial resources. Recently, Frédéric Vasseur emphasized the importance of the team over individual abilities, but it's curious that just a few months ago, it was Frédéric Vasseur himself who declared how unthinkable it would be not to try to hire a designer of Newey's caliber. In this negotiation of the year, at least in technical terms, Ferrari comes out defeated in terms of image, despite the Maranello team denying the obvious. There was talk of some sort of memorandum drafted by Adrian, full of conditions necessary to accept the proposal from the Italian team. These requests were deemed incompatible with the roles and responsibilities foreseen in Ferrari's sporting organization. This explanation seems rather weak, especially considering Ferrari's winning past. One of the greatest designers of the modern era, Rory Byrne, was certainly not an omnipresent manager, but within a winning team, he was the professional capable of making a difference. Not to mention the contribution of Ross Brawn. For weeks, Italian team fans hoped that those 5 letters in the top manager's last name would correspond to Newey. However, last week, with a cold and cryptic announcement posted on social networks, Loic Serra was named the new technical director of the prancing horse. With all due respect to the French manager, the former Mercedes engineer from Nancy evokes as much emotion in the fans as a calculus exam. Sport is exciting because it still allows us to dream, and seeing Adrian Newey next to Lawrence Stroll is a blow to the heart for those who have been hoping for decades that a Ferrari-colored F1 car, designed by the English wizard, could become a reality. Only time will tell if the disappointment over Adrian's failure to arrive is just an emotional reaction or a terrible misfortune. Thanks to the technical projects developed under the guidance of the aerodynamic genius, Red Bull has become one of the most successful teams in F1 history. A team that no one believed could reach success, only to dominate an entire championship, smashing all records. A story very similar to that of Aston Martin, whose shares have been progressively acquired by Canadian magnate Lawrence Stroll, who rebranded the Racing Point team as Aston Martin.